Hello, this is Doug Brook at NorthStar DHI Services. Today we're going to be talking about the sex of the calf as determined on the second preg check using ultrasound. First thing I will need to do is create a new report that will be looking for the cows that I want to preg check. So I'm going to create a new report. We're going to call this preg check. And I'm going to be using cows, and I am going to have group number, index number, reason on the report so I know why cows are going to be appearing on this report. I also want to look at current milk. I'm going to look at last calving date. I'm going to look at days since breeding or heat. I'm also going to look at a combination database item, which is 86, which will give me times bred, repro recheck code, and the date bred. I'm going to be looking at service heat interval. I'm also going to be looking at the first previous breeding date. I will also look at vet recheck code, and I will put in a couple of underlines so that I have a place to write. Now, to have cows appear on this report that I want to look at, those cows that have been bred at least once and less than 20 times, the repro code, which is E through N. So down here that would exclude my do not breed cows and exclude my pregnant cows. And the days since breeding or heat will be 28 to 60 because that is the range that we're going to bring those cows in the first time for ultrasound preg check. That would be reason on the report, first preg check. I'm also going to put a second reason in for cows to appear on this report, so I put in an OR statement. And that would be times bred 1 through 20, just as we had before. Repro code, those cows that have already been diagnosed pregnant because we want to bring them in a second time. I'm going to be using my recheck code as not V. Verified pregnant is a recheck code. There's also blank, okay to breed and recheck. And the reason these cows appear on the report is because that is their second preg check. So if I go ahead and take a preview of this report, this is going to list a few of my cows. There will be underlines once we print this report out. So I'm looking at my first and second preg check cows on this new preg check list. So I'm going to save that, and for me it's going to be saved as number 43. So now I have this report that I can print out for vet check, and the veterinarian will tell me whether she's pregnant the first time or when she's pregnant the second time and give me a sex of the calf. My next step would be in the input desk. I have to go in and assign a user-defined field. So over here on the right hand side is assign a user-defined field. We're going to be using user-defined field number 1, and we're going to call it sex of calf. So now I have set up a user-defined field to be able to enter some data information in for each cow that I do my second preg check on. It's going to be called sex of calf. And after I have the veterinarian come out and tell me which cows are pregnant, which cows are verified pregnant, and also have a sex of the calf, I'm going to go ahead again and run this report that's called preg check. I'm going to put them in temp group 44 today, and then I'll preview that report. These cows are now in temp group 44. So now when I go back to my input desk and I'm going to go to vet repro check, I'm going to select by group or temp group, and today my temp group is going to be 44. And they are cows, and I'm going to say done. So all these cows have come in for a vet check. So I'm going to apply individually to each one of these cows. And I have a vet check day, which was actually yesterday on a Monday. I am going to diagnose this cow pregnant. And the method is going to be, since it says skip for me, I just want to choose set reset skip, and I'm going to uncheck the skip method and say close. so that I can now go into, say, this is an ultrasound check, and then I'll say done. I'm going to cancel all these animals because there is one other thing I really want to do and add information for each cow, so I'm going to exit out of that. What I'm going to do is define a chain of events, because what I want to do in the vet check repro, I want to do that. I also want to put in user-defined fields for those cows, and the user-defined field as being used today would be the sex of the calf, so I'm going to save that. It's going to be, at least for me, number 5. So now I go down here to number 5 in my input desk, say vet UDF, select by temp group 44, and now all these cows are going to be entered in my input desk. So I'm going to apply those individually. First cow is diagnosed pregnant. Method is ultrasound, and then I will say done. And then it drops down to user-defined field input. I am going to, in user-defined field 1, put in my value. She was diagnosed with a female, 2015, so I put a date in, and I will say done. So my next cow is number 40, and my vet check day will be the 2nd. She's already been diagnosed pregnant, so therefore I'm going to call her verified pregnant. And ultrasound, so I say done. And now I'm going to, in the user-defined field, put in a value, and in this particular case, this animal was diagnosed as having a male fetus, and then I say done. The next cow that comes up would be number 45. She has not been diagnosed pregnant at all, so I know that's her first vet check. We're going to call her pregnant, ultrasound. We'll say done. I'm going to delete that because I really don't know what her sex of the calf is, so then I'll cancel that. And I just continue on for each one of the cows that was in for a vet check, so I have whether she's been diagnosed pregnant the first time or verified pregnant the second time, and then also put in the sex of the calf. So I'm going to cancel all just for time constraints. And the next thing I need to do is take a look at creating another user report that's going to list that sex of the calf and whether she had a bull or a heifer calf at her next calving. So I'm going to create a new report. I'm going to call this sex of calf. That's going to be for cows. What I'm going to do is use my index number so I know which cows there are. I'm going to look at my last calving date. I am going to look at database item number 273, which is going to be sex and disposition of the calf. And I'm going to look at my user-defined field 1, which happens to be where I've stored that information for the sex of the calf. So if I were to preview that, this would list all the animals that have a sex and disposition of the calf. Of course, we have our calving date, and it has the sex of the calf, whether she has a bull or a heifer. And we can take a look at how well the sex of the calf ultrasound was determined by the veterinarian on that last vet check day. So I go ahead and save this report. For me, it's going to be report number 44, and I can save that. There is one other way we could put in the sex of the calf and keep track of that. From my input desk, I can assign health conditions. And I can assign health condition number 78, and I'm going to call it sex, and my description would be sex of calf. So that would be done. I can use my health conditions to keep track of the sex of the calf for each individual lactation. Using a user-defined field, you'd have to change that every lactation to put in a different value on vet check days so we know what the sex of that calf is. So today we have gone through a quick user report for vet check and also data entry to get in pregnants, verified pregnants, and the sex of the calf that is determined by that second preg check ultrasound. This is Doug Brook at NorthStar DHI Services. You may contact me at either one of the telephone numbers listed on the screen or jot me an email. Thank you.